Hello, everybody. How are ya? Come on in, grab your seat. It is Drama Free Friday. Yes, it is. So let me just type something in the chat here. Hello. There we go. So, yeah. So it's Friday. Got one more thing I gotta start here. Okay. So it's great to be here. It's great to have everyone joining me. It's Drama Free Friday, which is what I say every week because there's enough drama in the world, right? We don't need it in here, inside the studio, inside the world of creativity and art for a couple hours because we can't do anything about it anyway. So, let's just let's just move on and just have some fun. So, okay, let me there we go. Okay, just checking to see if I had everything going here, and I think we do. Hi, Janice. Either we got a small group today or everybody's busy or they're just not chatting up. So anyway, great to see everybody. Okay, I have an evil twin I didn't know about. Hi, Kasha. Nice to see you. So who is my evil twin? Someone needs to fess up. Hi, Mindy. So this is in case you don't know, if you're watching the recording, this is recorded live. And so this is a live stream and it's recorded live. So there's a chat going on. And so I'll be looking over to another monitor periodically to check with everybody. Yeah, found it in our Edwards. If you want to tell us your name, that'd be great. I'm glad you did. Okay. So I hope you guys are having a good day. It is absolutely beautiful here. I know, the weather report. It wouldn't be my stream without three things. One is Drama Free Friday. 2 is the weather report. Why, I don't know. And 3, a sponsor viewing. It would not be a proper stream without a sponsor viewing. Hi, Sarah. And sometimes I forget to do that, but I try not to. Okay, so we're going to do some fun stuff today. We're going to take art journal pages. Naomi, oh good. Or Ruth. Okay, great. Ruth, it's nice to have you here. Thanks for joining us. We're going to take art journal pages and we're going to repurpose them into postcards. We're going to do that in a little bit. And so what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to just show you what we did last week and finished up. I did write a blog post about this, so you can see it over on the HowToGetCreative.com blog. And there are pictures there, so you can actually click on the pictures and see the enlargements and so forth. But I thought I'd show them to you anyway. Hi, Pavla. Nice to see you, my friend. Nice to see you. So we'll take a look. These are the soul support dolls that I was working on last week, and so I just thought that I would give you a chance to take a look at them once I got finished. Hi, Janet. And so this is one of the ones. I had these all in various stages last week, but I thought I would just give you a quick look at them and explain to you some of the things. This little thing at the bottom is actually a piece of a fishing something, a fishing lure. Hi, Josie. So this is a piece of fishing lure. And my husband does this thing periodically called magnet fishing. I don't know if you guys have heard of that, but you put a heavy magnet on somehow you attach it to, I've not seen it, so I'm just telling you what he's told me. Somehow you attach this magnet to your fishing line and then you drop it into the water. And so you bring up stuff, that other people have either thrown in the water or lost or whatever. So anyway, this was one of the things he got. He fished for it. Yeah. And he brought it up. He was showing me all the stuff that he'd gotten that day. And he said, well, I'm just going to show it to you before I throw it out. And so he was showing me all these things. Of course, this was just caked with mud and it was a mess. And I said, what are you going to do with that? And he said, I'm going to throw it out. And I said, well, I bet that would look cool on one of the soul support dolls. And I said, do you think it'll clean up? And he goes trucking out to the garage. And the next thing I know, he brings it in. It's all bright and shiny and ready to be attached to a soul support doll. So yeah, so that's where that came from. So anyway, there's the back of her hairstyle and the little hanging ring and the little pocket, which has the message in it that I read you last week. And then I usually have to add a charm or a button or something to the back of the pocket flap to keep it down, because they tend to want to kind of get up in the air. Anyway, so there's that one. Here is another one. This is the one that had the produce bags for the hair. There was an orange and a red one. Hi, Meg. Nice to see you. And so here she is, all finished. She has a necklace on, which since she's laying down, her necklace wants to slide over to the, around her neck. But she has little gold spring beads, and she has a heart. And just look in here a second. Ah, there's my twin. There's my evil twin, who is also the angel. Pardon me, the angel twin. The evil twin became the angel twin. Hello, race man. I figured as much. So this is the second one of 4. So the little beads are springs and so forth. And then I found this in my stash of stuff, this big red heart bead. And so I thought, I'll put that on there. Hi, Sue. Nice to see you. Welcome. And then there's the pocket on the back with a little wing. Oh, I need to do a better job. There's always some little repair. I've hauled these around with me several places. So we'll just do it while we're here. So a tiny little bit of tacky glue to the rescue. Yeah, she's good as new. All right, so there's that one. And this is this one. And she is the one that has the button face. She has little charms on her. These are little spirals and the words. It says believe and imagine. She has little spirals and she has a little organza ribbon. And she has quite an assortment of charms on down in this area. I'll give you a close-up look at those. Let me zoom in so you can see. So she has a little piece of, it's a little ruler charm. She has a piece of shell. This is from an old necklace. This is a fishing lure blade, a wing or a feather. Gosh, don't know myself. And a heart. And so that is her little charms that make sound. And here are a close-up of the little charms that I have, little pewter charms. The metal thing is a lure propeller. Thanks, Naomi Ruth. Okay, and then this is the last one. Okay, I need you to, Danny, spell it out so I know how to say your name properly, would you, so I can welcome you? Otherwise, I'll have to just say, hey, Dan, because I'm not sure how to pronounce your name. Hey, Jan, come on in. Jan and Mr. Bear. Danielle. I bet it's Danielle. Is that how I say it? I don't want to mispronounce your name. And so this one has the blue produce bags for hair. And she has a heart necklace with some beads on it. All of her embellishments are different kinds of wings. And let's see. And then down here, I'll show you again her, all of her little things at the bottom. She has a hand. I often include a hand charm. So it's a tiny, tiny little hand charm. Looks like a child's hand charm. Danielle. Okay, thank you. She has a bell, a copper bell. These were some bells that I think Larkspur Vicky brought to me when she came to visit quite a few months ago now. Gosh, doesn't seem like it'd been that long. Another one of the fishing lure blades, a little dragonfly charm, and another one of the pieces of shell. I love them when they have sound. Hopefully you can hear that. So anyway, that is Soul Support dolls. So they're all finished and ready to go to Pascal's Pals for the auction, and they're all finished totally, so all I have to do is deliver them so they can add them to their silent auction. I caught this cool book. I thought I would show this to you. I just want to share it with you because I think it's just a fun book. I got this book at a store where, actually it was a restaurant where I was eating. They had a bunch of them. And it's called Think Happy, Be Happy, Art, Inspiration, Joy. Now, how could you leave a little chunky book like that there? Really, people, how could you leave it there? I mean, it's art, inspiration, and joy. Come on. Meg wants to know if there is a specific reason for the shape. Nope, it's just that I like it. Hi, Flyover Pilgrim. You're a newbie? Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. If you want to give us your name, that I can call you something other than Flyover Pilgrim, that would be great. Hi, Kia. But it's just a fun little book. It's all different kinds of artwork. I haven't been able to determine yet. I haven't read it that closely. But I haven't been able to determine if it's artwork from a bunch of different artists. It looks to me like it might be, but I'm not entirely sure. And on some of the facing pages, there are additional notes. Sometimes there aren't. But this is cool. You know, your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Rebecca. Nice to have you, Rebecca. You might have to remind me again, but I'm so glad you're here. And it's nice to have Rebecca. Hey, Shannon. Great to have you here, my friend. If you guys don't follow Shannon Green, you need to. She's on YouTube, and she does lots of videos, and so you need to follow her. As I see people come in, as I recall that they stream or have YouTube channels, I'll try to remind you guys that they do. So, hey, Ashley. Ashley has she does streaming on Ustream. So check her out. Victor, Mr. Victor, hello. Nice to see you, Victor. We got a good group coming in here. So, and I think Victor has a YouTube channel too, don't you, Victor? Yeah, there's lots of creative people showing up here today, which is wonderful. So anyway, this is just the cutest little book. I'm trying to leave it alone and not rip it apart. You guys have that problem. I know Shannon has this problem because I've seen her do it. I've seen her get things and just rip them apart. I know Dee Dee, who's Inkwell, she does the same thing. I'm trying to keep it and not rip it up and use it. But so far, it's still intact. Yeah, Mr. Victor Crafter has a YouTube channel, so be sure and check out the different people who are have other kinds of inspiration to share with you. You can never have too much inspiration. Okay, so a lot of you who have been watching me for a while know about this puppy. This puppy's name is Riley. And this is when Riley was about 10 weeks old. Shannon says, sometimes they want to be ripped apart. I'm just sure of it. Speaking of books like this and other books. I know, they talk to you, don't they, Shannon? They talk to you. They tell you, rip me up. Oh, good, Ruth. She says that my channel seems to be her new addiction. Well, there will be, there's plenty of addictions out there that could be a lot worse. Hey, T. Good to see you. There you are, right there in the chat, T. T is Teresa. So anyway, many of you know about this puppy, Riley. My granddaughter, and I'll show you a picture right here. This is my granddaughter, Christy, that I speak of frequently. And this is Riley. She's holding. When she was about, I think, a sophomore in college, which was 2.5 years ago or so, 2.5, 3 years ago, she became a puppy raiser for Riley. He was to be a service dog. And so she was a puppy raiser with an organization called Puppies with Purpose. And so she and another girl were the co-raisers of Riley. Just checking the chat a minute. Well, good, Teresa. I'm so glad you did. Rebecca says, buy another one on Amazon. Rip that one up. Talking about the book. True enough. That's a really good way to look at it, actually, Rebecca. It's a really good way to look at it. So anyway, Christy was the puppy raiser for Riley, and she had him for about, I think, 10 or 11 months. And so her job was to socialize Riley. So Riley went everywhere with Christy and the other girl that was the co-raiser. So when Riley was not with her, Riley had to be with the co-raiser. He was never left more than, 2 or 3 hours at a time on his own. And so they socialized him. They took him to all kinds of experiences. He learned to go in the grocery store, out in restaurants, every place. And then his training was done at one of the women's prisons that is, it's less than 100 miles away from us, but that's where they do the training for the service dogs. So this is Riley when he's 10 weeks old. And so now I'm going to show you Riley, who is now named Bentley. And so this is Bentley. It's baby Riley. This is Bentley, which is his working name. And Riley was his, I'd forgotten what they call it, the call name or something. It was his puppy name. And so this is Bentley, and this is his girl. And so this is the little girl whom he is now the service dog for. This is Christy a few years later and older. And so Bentley got to graduate yesterday. And so Christy got to go over and be part of the graduation exercise and see Bentley graduate. So it was interesting to me that, because we've always had dogs and done various kinds of dog training, although I have not done the service dog training or fostering a service dog. I've never done that. But it was interesting to me that he had the two different names. So when he was with Christy and the other co-raiser, he was Riley, but when he was working and being trained, he was named Bentley. So I thought that was so interesting. So anyway, those of you that remember baby puppy Riley now get to see the adult Bentley, who now has a girl. And I don't know her name. If I did, I wouldn't say it publicly anyway. So, yeah. Isn't that cool? I mean, really, is that cool? I'm just so proud of her. Of course, last night I was at the book club that I go to every month, a couple times a month. It's at a local store, and it's a creative book club. And I got that picture while I was there, and they all know her. And so I had to talk to them about, Riley/Bentley. It's so hard to remember that he has a different name because we all knew him as Riley. Christy would bring him to classes and book club and everything as this little puppy. And then as he was growing, he was there. And so everybody knew the puppy and saw him grow up, and everybody knows Christy. And so, when I got that picture, it was really nice because then I could show everybody and we could all celebrate Bentley's graduation. So many of those dogs. I didn't realize this either, but so many of those dogs that go into that program don't make it. It's like a very high percentage of the dogs that go into that program don't make it. And so they become, they're adopted out as pets for regular people. And, but Bentley made the grade and graduated. So yay for Bentley and yay for Christy for doing a good job and all of that. So, Shannon says she has a friend who raises service puppies. So cool to see him grown up and placed with someone who needs them. I know. I'm telling you, I didn't know whether I could talk about it, but I thought I'm going to take a chance. Because you all know, if you've watched me any length of time, you know what a sap I am. Everybody knows what a sap I am. I try not to be, but it's just the way it is. Auntie Michael, good to see you. Nice to have you here. Yeah, it was such a celebration. I was so glad Christy got to go and participate. And, it was a real full circle moment. And I don't know about you guys, but sometimes it's very helpful in your life to have that full circle moment so that you can have closure to something that, some big something in your life. And she got to do that. And I was so happy for her. Okay, so... And Kate says that she adopted a dog that didn't make it in a similar program. Yeah. I just had no idea that what the percentage was of dogs that don't make it, and it's very, very high. I mean, it's a unique dog that makes it all the way through. So, and each of the dogs in this program, these are not like seeing eye dogs and that kind of really specialized dog. These are dogs that are they're service dogs that, they're trained very specifically for the needs of the person that they go to be with. A lot of them, I think, go to be with returning vets for PTSD and so forth. So, yeah. Yeah, Ruth doesn't have to adopt dogs because she's a mutt magnet. Do you fly over Pilgrim? Rebecca, right? Gosh, I just saw it 5 minutes ago. Now it's already out of my head. It says that she weeps easily at good things too. It's a sickness. I tell you, it's a sickness. Okay, so let's get crack-a-lackin', shall we? Kate's was being trained as a hearing dog. Yeah, it's really interesting. It's just really interesting how they go through that program. I learned a lot while Christy was doing that. A lot of things I didn't have a clue about. So it was an education for me. So it just goes to show you that you're never too old to learn some new thing, right? Rebecca, I got to write that down, really. I got to write that down until it gets really in my head. Sometimes I need to write it down. Okay, so what we're going to do today is I'm going to use some art journal pages and I'm going to repurpose them into something else. And that something else is going to be postcards. And I'm going to show you some ATCs as well. So here are some of them that I have finished already. So I'm going to take you through the process, and I don't know how many we'll do. We'll just do some. So we'll see. We'll see how many we get done. Okay, so this project, these journal pages actually started their life as little canvases. They were 6x8 or 5x7 canvas panels. And I don't know when it was, 2012, I think. 2012, 14, I think it was 12. I had this crazy idea Did any of you here? Let me just ask you straight, eyeball to eyeball. Did any of you guys ever watch the movie Julie? Is it Julie and Julia? It's about the Julia, the chef. Gosh, her name just went right out. Shannon can relate to this because I've seen her. One of the funniest videos I've seen Shannon do was where she was talking about her sister. And was talking about her sister, Julia Child. See, it always comes back. It just comes back at weird times. Shannon was talking about her sister brushing her teeth with hand lotion, or hand cream. And I'm telling you, there are a few videos out there that make me really laugh, truly out loud, and there are several of Shannon's videos that I have done that with. Anyway, Julie and Julia. It's about Julia Child. And Julie was a blogger. And she decided that she was going to take Julia Child's, I've forgotten which one of her books, her recipe books, and she was going to cook her way through the entire book. And she was going to teach herself to cook all these fancy meals and dishes. And she was going to cook through the whole thing, and she was going to blog about it. Okay, so that was, with Meryl Streep. Exactly. Yes, the cooking thing. Yes. Okay, so I watched that movie it must have been the week between Christmas and New Year's. So I'm watching that movie, and all of a sudden I get this, it's like that thing that happens to you that you have to do because you can't avoid it. Do you guys ever have that happen to you? I mean, really, I'm like, this thing just, it's just like came inside of me, this thought that just, it's like an earworm, except it's a thought worm. An earworm is like a song, or sometimes I get phrases stuck in my head that I just cannot get rid of. But particularly a jingle or a song is said to be an earworm. Well, a thought worm is just one of those thoughts that comes in and you just cannot move it. It happened. So I get the thought worm that I think it would be great to do a canvas every day for a whole year. I don't know what I was thinking, really, people. I don't know what I was thinking for sure. Yeah. However, it would not leave me alone. So I decided what I would do is I would do little canvases. So I would do 5x7. I started out doing 6x8 because that's what I could get my hands on. Then I went to 5x7s, and I even threw in some bigger canvases, and then I hung them all on my wall. I mean, I had so many on the wall, I ended up bringing them up here, and they're hung on a wall just on the other side of the end of this shelving unit. I have them hung on the wall and up over the door. Well, you can see a couple of them kind of peeking right there. You can kind of see them peeking around. Whoops. Yeah, get your hand going the right way. See all those coming in? Those are canvases. So anyway, they really are more like art journal pages as opposed to painted canvases. Now some of them are kind of arty, you kind of venture into what you might call a canvas, but for the most part, they're just really journal pages on canvases. So it was a big stretch, and it was a big commitment, and I did it for 180 days, which is 6 months. I did it every day. I missed maybe 2 days out of the whole time. But I did it every single day for the duration of that time. And so I was really happy with myself. But really looking at them, there are some of them I really love. There are some of them I go, oh, what was I thinking? What an awful idea. Anyway, that's where these came from. So I'll tell you a little bit about these as I go through them, and then we'll kind of play with the ones that I have printed. This one was watercolor. I was playing with Carla Sonheim's book, Mixed Media Painting for Artists, or Mixed Media. Yeah, I should have brought the book in here. Oh, thanks, Josie. Yeah, I got 180 days. Yeah, it was... I was pretty proud of myself for making it that far. But the funny thing is, when the 180 days was up, I was like, and I'm done with that. Moving on. So anyway, this was her watercolor animals, her blob animals that you put watercolor on a surface. So I had a piece of watercolor paper. I put water on it. I dropped, put water on, then I dropped watercolor in it. Then you dry it, and then you see what's there. And I did several of those. And this was my favorite one. I absolutely love this cat. And I will tell you, this cat, I did very little to make this cat come to be, other than outline, and I added whiskers, and I added the little nose, mouth, nose thing. Exactly. Gabrielle says, I tried that once with exercising, and oh my God, what was I thinking? It's true. It's true, You get into it. It just sounds like such a good thing. Holy mackerel. Don't put that kind of pressure on yourself, people. Don't do it. So anyway, this was probably my favorite of the whole thing. Now, this has been printed off on, the color is not as true because it's been photographed and then it's been taken into Photoshop and cut down, cropped down to the right size, and, nothing ever is exactly the same. I have not enhanced the color at all. So it's not exactly the same color, but anyway. And then I printed it out, and then I did the stitching on it. And I'll show you close-ups of these in a little bit. But anyway, there's that one. And this was another one. So you see that this is much more like a journal page. It's a background. It has stuff cut out of, I don't know what, a magazine or something. And then this one, I don't know what I was doing on this. I have no idea. I think I was playing with abstract stuff, which I find abstract things incredibly difficult to do. Personally, my hat's off to anybody who does abstract well, because it is just not my thing. So again, I've stitched to outline all the shapes that were there. And I ended up with little pieces that I don't remember. These are from a few years ago. I don't remember exactly why I had the small ones, but I turned those into ATCs. So this has no stitching on it, but this has the stitching. So you can see it like makes it more, it sharpens it because of the black outlines. So, and this is another one. And again, you can see the ATC, and then you see it with the stitching. This one I liked a lot. This is Find Your Perfect Balance. So this was one of the ones that I really liked. So it was a collage of stuff. I'm not a collage artist either. I find collage really challenging. So it was a really good stretch for me to do. This is another one that says, first I think, then I draw a line around my think. And that was a quote from somebody, but I didn't write it down, so I don't know who it is. So there's that one. This one says, today is the day, and this says, bloom where you're planted. And this, as I recall, when I did this on the canvas, I believe it was a transfer, which is hard to do, by the way. Oh, thanks. And then this one, here's the ATC. This image was from a really, really, really old, and I think these are two different images from some really, like from 1800s old magazines that I have. And so these are color copies, I think. It's been a while, people. It's been a while. I just have to be honest. I can't remember exactly what I did. Oh, and I also blogged about all of these. So the blog is no longer up. I disbanded that blog, so it's not even up there anymore, but I detailed the process of everything I did. So if the blog was up, you could go read about them, but it's not. Hey, Rain. And this one, so I put these two images together, and this says, do not feed the animals. And so up here I have, sometimes you got to break the rules, because the little girl is clearly feeding the elephant. So again, stitching. And then after it's put together, then I stitched around them to hold them onto the background. And what I did with these is I wrote the day that I did the canvas. So day 92, day 43, day 130, day 48, day 128. And then these don't have days on them because I just did them. Okie doke. So let me show you one of them up close just so you can kind of see. I'll give you an uber close up of the cat so you can see the cat really super close so you can get the idea. And what was on here, because I always include words in what I do. Hi, Jerry. Nice to have you join us. So this says, "Oh dear," because that's what that cat looked to me like he was saying. Oh dear. So there is the kitty up close. You can see the stitching. All of that's machine stitching in the outlines. And you can tell I'm not particularly anal about some of that. You know, it's just like, if I stitch on the line, good. If I don't, okay, so what? So anyway, you can see that. And now like on this one, the stitching is, the only stitching on this is around, the free motion stitching is around the words. So I'm just showing you that. I'll let you see the elephant. I'll just show you all of them up close just so you can really see what I did. But the stitching really tends to bring out the parts and pieces, you know, kind of clarify the various parts of the pieces. And on this one, the stitching is only on the flower. So the stitching just brings out the things that I wanted to bring out in the various postcards or art journal pages or whatever. But their life is as little canvases, but they really are art journal pages disguised as a canvas. And these little, the centers of the flowers, those are actually little molds that I did of faces. So that's a 3D kind of thing. But they're stitching on all of the stems and so forth. I know. The kitty, I really like the kitty. Me too, Rain. And here's the bird. Okay, let's go to the top. So the butterfly is stitched. The bird is stitched. The bird is perched on a bottle in a very precarious way. So I stitched the bottle, I stitched the other butterfly, and so this is Find Your Perfect Balance. So I stitched around those. And then this is my pitiful attempt at abstract art. But the stitching is good. You know, it's like, I'm not sure the art's good, but the stitching is good. Will I keep them separate or make them into a book? I'm not sure if you're talking about the canvases or if you're talking about the these are postcards that I'll send out. Yeah, so these are postcards. Okay. So these are just going to be things I'm going to send. I'm probably going to send them to Dee Dee and let, you know, I'll get a bunch of them done. I'll send them down to her, and because she's really good. Dee Dee is Inkwell on YouTube. I think, well, she's Dee Dee Willingham. Sometimes she's Inkwell, sometimes she's Inkywell. She streams on Xtreme. She also has a YouTube channel, but she's very generous with her time, and she's very generous mailing things to people. And so, I mean, I'm terrible about sending things to her to mail to people, but she's really good about sending cards and so forth to people. And so I'm going to try to give her a few from me. We'll see if I make it. Yeah, Jerry, they're postcards to be mailed out. So, okay, it is a good way to share your art, and it's a good way to take your art, and you can do the very same thing, because I have done the same thing with some of my art journal pages. I've made copies of those, and you know, that are actually in my art journals, made copies of those, and I've done some similar things. So, for my regular art journal pages, I probably more what I've done the most is I've made copies, cut them, crop them down, and put them on cards. And so I've just made cards out of them that way without the stitching. But I thought it'd be fun, something different to do the stitching. Okay? All right, so I'm going to show you what I did and give you some ideas, perhaps. So this is what I start with. I just print them out on printer paper. And it's best if you can use something that's a little heavier than the cheap stuff. That's a little better for this process because it makes the paper it's a little beefier. So I size them down, and I'm not great with Photoshop. If Raceman is still here, he can attest to that. I have to tell you a story about my son, okay? I shouldn't admit this. Little tea break. Tea and story time, people. Tea and story time. Yeah. So, my son is the one who has the brilliant idea about many things that I do. Not my art so much as the technology stuff, which sometimes, as in last week, proves to be a great challenge for me. Anyway, so he was talking about one of his clients because he has my son, who is Raceman, in the chat, or usually is in the chat. He was my evil twin a little when I very first started today. He wears multiple hats. He has a computer consulting business. He is an actor. He is a producer. He does directing, primarily producing and acting, and he does the computer consulting work and so forth. He wears many hats. And hey, Di. And he is multi. Did I say multi-talented? And if you want to see any of his acting work, go to raceowen.com. And you can find him on YouTube, and you can find his own website with a lot of things on there. So if you want some eye candy and you want to see how talented he is, you can look him up. But anyway, so he was talking about one of his clients who was having trouble with a website or something. And he said, so he taught her, I forgot what the program was now, but he taught her how to do this thing. And he said, he says, well, she caught it very quickly. He said, she's one of those people I can just teach it to. I can tell him how to do it. I can teach it to him. And then she just goes off and does it. He said, now I could do the same thing with you. And he was trying to be kind. He really was. Exactly, Di. Packer Di came to visit one time, and I gave her she had a picture of him, so she kissed the picture and took a picture of herself kissing these pictures. Anyway, too much information. So he says to me, yes, you're a lot like that too, except with you, I have to hold your hand. I was like, it just kind of like, I was like, man, I was feeling pretty good about myself there for a little bit, and then I got the backdoor compliment. Oh, Pavla, that was nice. Oh gosh, yeah. What's Photoshop? Isn't that the truth? Photoshop's just that's a program. So is Illustrator. I'm better with Illustrator than I am with Photoshop, and I'm not great with Illustrator, let me tell you. But I can get my way around. I have learned to do what I want to do in Illustrator, but yeah, anyway, I digress. Okay, so back to the process at hand. So I printed out my art journal pages that I have sized down. So, when you take it down to a 4x6, you don't always get everything that's on the canvas or on the journal page. You kind of crop out what you want. Okay, so that's what I did, print it out on a good I don't even have a good. I just have an HP 6520 printer. It's an all-in-one scanner, printer that cost me, I think, $99. The ink cost me more than the printer every time I refill the ink. But, you know, we know that's how it's going to be. Okay, cut them out. So print them, let them get really dry. I don't do anything to them. You can spray them with fixative or spray them with matte spray. I'm not going to take the time or waste the product to do that because they're just little things I'm going to mail out to people. All right, so then I cut them out like this. And then I cut a piece of black cardstock just because I like the black in case it shows around the image. I'd rather have black than to have anything else. So that's what I do. And then I use a magazine. Okay. So I use a magazine. And I like this glue stick, which is the Elmer's Xtreme glue stick. It just happens to be the one that I really like. And the links to the stuff that I'm using are in the description box below the video. Let's do it on this side. So if you want to see what I'm talking about, if you want a better look at anything, just look in the description box below the video and you'll be able to see what I'm doing, what I'm talking about, read more about it, whatever. So I coat the back of this really well. Pack or Die is the queen of glue stick, let me tell you. Pack or Die has a YouTube channel also. And she is a phenomenal collage artist. Not like me. Okay, then what I do is I usually get 2 of these out of one page. And then I turn the page over and then I just smash it and then I keep going. Okay, so I got this thing stuck to my hand. So what I'm going to do is, and if you hear any noise in the background, that would be the dog who is she is my constant companion. That's Sandy, who is my elderly golden retriever. I'll let you see who I'm talking about in case you're new and don't know. Let's see if I can get a decent shot over here. Bad camera work, Barb. Sorry, it's a good thing you can't see what I'm doing yet. Okay, here we go. That is Sandy. Okay, so that's Sandy. Sandy girl, she can't hear me. If she could hear, I could have her raise her head, but she can't hear me anymore. So yeah, anyway, okay. So if you hear a bunch of rumbling in the background, that would be the elderly golden retriever who is in the background. Okay, so I like these scrapers. These are Bondo Scrapers. They come in a set of, I think it's a set of 3. And so I use these because you can use a credit card, absolutely, right? But I like this because it's big. Show the other ones, the other sizes that it comes in. So they come in this set of 3 scrapers like this, and they're actually made for doing body work on cars. So I tend to use the middle-sized one. Anyway, I like it because I can put the pressure on whatever it is I'm sticking down, and I get pretty good coverage all in one go. So that's what I like. I know, she is a good girl. She's a sweetheart. Okay, so that's my preferred glue stick. Everybody has, I can't get Yoo-hoo glue sticks, which a lot of people rave about, but I can't get those without ordering them, and so I don't have any at the moment. Yeah. So then I set this aside, and this is gonna sit here for a little bit, and then it's gonna start curling up, because that's what it does. So I put a heavy book, I do a bunch of them, put a heavy book on top of them, and then weight it. I have some old antique irons, and so I weight the book with the irons and then let them dry. Totally dry. Now this one you can see maybe has some black showing around it, and so when it's totally done, then I'll come in here and I'll trim off most of that black. I don't have to trim off every single bit of it, but I'll trim most of it away because I don't mind if it has a little bit showing around it. So some of them admittedly are not going to be totally 4x6. They're going to be a skidge shorter and narrower than the 4x6. But anyway, then I let this completely and totally and utterly, and I do mean totally, dry. So you've got to let these sit overnight to let them dry, because trust me on this, okay? Hear me when I tell you this. You don't want to take this thing that has wet glue stick that you've slathered on lots of glue and run it through your sewing machine, unless you don't care about your sewing machine. But I care about my sewing machine, and so I'm not going to do that. I'm going to let these completely dry. You might be able to take it to, and if you have an iron, you might be able to iron it dry, but you know, I'm just going to tell you, it is just glue them up, put them under something heavy, let them dry. This is going to feel cool to the touch when it's wet. When it is totally done, it's going to feel dry to the touch, or warm, dry. Of course it's going to feel dry. It's going to feel warmer to the touch. As long as it's cool, it is not dry. Okay? All right, so there is that. And this is another one of the journal pages. All right, so I have a bunch of them that are glued up, ready to go. It is a skidge. I don't know how much a skidge is, but it's a little tiny bit. So pardon me while I have another tea break. Yes, please be kind to your sewing machines. If you've invested much money in them, in fact, the less money that you've invested, the nicer you have to be to it. The more you've invested, you just need to be nice to it because you've invested a lot of money in it. But usually the more you pay for a machine, the more forgiving it is. So, a little tea break. I'm drinking Throat Coat tea, as Jean Blonde Woman Stamping helped me find, and it's doing a good job for me. Okay. So here are the ones I have finished, and so we're going to pick out one. What I'm going to let you guys do is I'm going to let you look at all of them, and then I want you to tell me which one you want me to do the stitching on, because I don't know if I'll try and do one or two. How's that? So this one says, "Love is the path to the soul's freedom." And this one I don't have anymore. My granddaughter snagged that one, so I don't even have that anymore. I have done the yogi tea, and I haven't tried that for a while. Packer Dye says she loves yogi tea, so I'm going to have to try those again. Okay, this one is a cat, and this goofy cat, this was another exercise based on Carla Sonheim's book, Mixed Media, whatever it is. Mixed Media for, yeah, I should go get it and just show it to you, shouldn't I? I'll do that. Give me a second. Alright, now I don't have to fumble over the words because this is the book, Drawing Lab for Mixed Media Artists. Okay? That's the book I'm referencing. When I talk about Carla Sonheim, that's the book I'm referencing. So this cat was was one of the exercises in there. It was a drawing, and then I took the drawing and I blew it up, or just used it as reference is what I did. And I drew it on a foam tray like you get produce on, you know, one of those from like a styrofoam tray from the grocery store, and drew it on and impressed it with a stylus or something, and then just rolled ink or rolled paint over it. So that was one. I did some of the cats and some of the dogs that I used for canvases. It's one of the very first exercises that she has in the book, as I recall. Yeah. So it's based on this. So you were supposed to draw cats in bed. So you're supposed to draw a whole bunch of cats while you were in bed. Well, I don't do that. So I drew them when I was at my art table. And then I did the same thing with a bunch of dogs. Okay, so there's that one. This is Muppet. She's my other dog. Everything we have is that it lives in this house is some kind of rescued thing, including myself and my husband, I think. You notice that my son doesn't live here anymore because he rescued himself. Anyway, this was a picture I took of Muppet, and then I painted the canvas. So this is Muppet. So you've seen this one already, but you can see what a difference it makes when it doesn't have the black stitching around it. And this one says Creative License, and this is done, let's see, how did I do that? These are images that I cut out of magazines, I think. And I think the vase is done using paint chips. It's been too long. It's been too long. Meg's sewing machine turned 38 and is still going strong. That's great. That's great, Meg. Okay, you've seen this one before. And you saw me do a second one like this. This says, "Come fly with me." I love this owl. I think that's a fun owl. I think he's pretty cool. This says, "Harvest Fresh Ideas." This was a pear. I think you can tell that, duh. That I did the background and then I painted the pear using acrylic paint, and the leaf is actually fabric in the real canvas. Hi, Sandy. And then this is the blue dog from the artist in, he lived in New Orleans, and I forgot his name. One of you guys will know. And this says, on here, it says brave, and it says, it's an adjective, brave, braver, possessing or displaying courage. And this, I wrote the blog posts about each one of these little canvases when I was doing them. And so this was a post all about Muppet when we adopted Muppet. And because this reminds me of her. And then this is the cat that you saw earlier. So this one has not been stitched. Okay. Now, so there you go. Those are the choices. So you guys put in the chat which one you want me to stitch. Okay? And I will, whatever I see that, yeah, okay. So Rebecca votes for Muppet and the orange flower, but she likes them all. And then she likes the pear. Okay. So tell me which ones you want me to do. Is anybody? Rain thinks I should do Muppet. Ruth likes the owl, the orange flower, the kitty, the owl, the cat, the dog. You guys aren't helping me a whole lot here, really, because you're picking a lot of them. So I'm just waiting to see what anybody says. Flower, the blue dog, the owl, the Muppet, the owl, the pear, the cat. Hi, Kathy. The dog. Okay, we have a lot of dogs. Okay, so of the dogs, we have the blue dog and we have a Muppet dog. So pick one of the dogs. Which dog do you want of those two dogs? And I'll do the pear. I'll set the pear aside. The owl is winning so far. Okay, we'll set the owl aside. So do that. We'll do those two and then pick one of the dogs. And then that will be, I'm sure, you can vote as many times as you want. It's just for fun. And we have another Kathy. Hi, Kathy. Got two Kathys. Okay, the blue dog, the blue dog, the blue dog, and then Muppet, Muppet. Okay. The blue dog and Muppet are running neck and neck. All right, we'll just do them both. Okay. That takes care of that. All right. All right, I got to get my sewing machine up here. How are we doing? Everything seems to be doing what it's supposed to do here. Make sure I'm not running over a dog foot. Okay, so we have a sewing machine. Bob's your uncle. We got a sewing machine. Just appeared from the floor. Appeared from the depths. Okay, so I'm going to see if I can get this over. Okay, give me just a minute because it takes me a little bit not only to get set up, but to get the camera set up too. So everybody just talk amongst yourselves for a minute. So I'm going to put on my slide-on table. And let's see here. Okay, I don't want to get out too far that you can't see what I'm doing, but I want to get where you guys can really see. Okay, we're going to try this and see how this works. And let me see if I can talk to you at the same time. This will be tricky if I can talk to you at the same time as I do this. Here's hoping. Okay, whoops. Dropped my spool of thread. All right. All right, so I'm going to read the chat while I'm setting up here. And I need to thread my machine. Rethread my machine. So we'll talk about that briefly, because I'll give you all my spiel about sewing machines. How's that? So what I'm using is, I'm using this thread, which is, I know you can't see that, maybe you can see it. It's from the company Sulky. This is a cotton thread. And the cotton thread is a 30 weight machine embroidery thread, and that's what I'm using. And the color is almost black. That's literally the color. And the color number is 1234. Now, when you thread a machine, you've got to make sure, see, this is called the presser foot right here. Okay, this is the thing that goes up and down to hold your fabric down to the surface and so forth. And you've got to have that in the full upright position when you thread your machine. If you don't, and I know you're not going to see me for a minute, if you don't, pardon me while I thread the needle. Doesn't want to. This is what an automatic needle threader would be. So nice. But this machine doesn't have one. My other machine does, but this is my workhorse machine. Come on, babe. Thread the needle. Come on. Sometimes, admittedly, the needle gets a little gunked up with glue, which is what's happened with this one. Let's just change to a different needle, and that way I can talk to you about needles. Okay, so what I have here is my bunch of needles that I've used a little bit, but not a whole lot. When you take out a needle and you're going to get rid of it, make sure that you put it to the side and dispose of it safely. Okay? So this is just a tomato pincushion, and so this has different numbers and different words written on here, like top stitch, denim, ballpoint, metallic, embroidery, quilting, etc. And those are on there because when you take the needle out of the machine, if it's in the package, you're good to go. But if you take the needle out of the machine, unless you have the eyesight of about a 12-year-old, you're not going to be able to see what that needle is again. the information. It's always engraved on the butt of the needle, which probably is a better name than butt, but you know what I'm talking about, the shank of the needle. Let's be polite. And so I just park them in that tomato pin cushion, and then I just have to reach in there and get it. That other needle that I had, I will dispose of, because if you can't thread the needle, you know it's got too much gunk going on. Okay. All right, machine is on. All right, let me catch up on the chat for a minute. Meg says she made a lot of things. She sewed a wet for her oldest daughter's wedding. It was a ceiling of netting held up by helium balloons. Holy mackerel, she sewed the ceiling for her daughter's wedding. A ceiling of netting held up by helium balloons. Holy moly. That's one I haven't heard of, Meg, I gotta tell you. And Ruth made her wedding dress, but that was 40 years ago. I made mine too, and I made mine too, Ruth. And mine was made out of lino cotton, like lino weave muslin. Yes, that tells you how long ago I got married. Yeah. Oh, sergers are great. Love sergers. All right, so we're threaded up. I have the machine threaded. This is a free motion foot. So when I put it down, it does not totally touch the feed dogs. Okay, free motion. That foot is down and I can run this under it. So the free motion foot does not completely engage with the feed dogs. All right, so are we good? Let's start with the pear. We'll do that first. So I might as well get me out of the picture because you're not going to be able to see me anyway because I got to scoot over. So, bye. Okay. Don't roll over the dog. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick a spot that I want to start here. The presser foot has to be down. When you do free motion embroidery, make sure the presser foot is down. Get my foot control where I can get a hold of it. And when you do this, this is how I do with paper. And this is a size 80 needle. It's an 80/12. I use a tiny pair of scissors around my sewing machine. Move pardon my reach for a minute. I need to move my monitor out of the way a little bit. And tiny little scissors around your machine so you don't bang them into your machine and scar your machine or break a light bulb. And I'm going to hold on to the threads to the side, and the feed dogs are not working, so I have to be the feed dogs. Let's see, let's come up here instead. Trying to think where I want to start. Let's come up here instead. Okay. And I have an ability to push a button and engage the needle down function. So when I stop, then it's going to stop with the needle in the machine. All right. So what I'm doing is I'm going to guide this with my hands. The feed dogs are not doing it. I'm doing it. Okay. And when you do this, you want to do a couple of things, okay? When you do free motion embroidery, you want to breathe. Because if you don't, the next thing you know, your shoulders will be up around your earlobes and you're going to be so tense and your neck's going to be killing you. So when you do this, you want to stay relaxed and you want to breathe because it's not that hard. This is not rocket science. This is not the end of the world if you mess it up. It's no big deal. Okay, breathe. And when you do this, if you get into a tight spot, then stop. Just stop. Take a breath, right? Just stop. And when you're doing it, you want to move at a fairly good clip with the machine. You can move your hands a little slower, but you want to kind of get coordinated with it so that the stitches are not too tiny and they're not too big and long. All right, so breathing, breathing, okay? All right. Can I show you a serger someday? I will be happy to. And for me, it's always easiest to be able to look at the work and not watch the needle. I watch ahead of where I'm going. So I watch ahead of where the presser foot and the needle are. And if I get inside the line a little bit, like I did right there, which you might not be able to see, I don't sweat it. Okay, so I'm just, and it's always easiest for me to work toward myself as opposed to, you can go in any direction when it's free motion, but I find it easiest to work toward myself. Okay, now what I'm going to do with these big long threads is I'm just going to cut them off. So this is completely different than what you would do if you were working on fabric. With fabric, you would pull the threads to the back and you would, or you'd pull them to the front. You do something to secure those threads. Okay, now if I want to put details in this leaf, what I'm going to do, I forgot my knee lift. My knee lift that I have in operates the presser foot. See the presser foot working and my hands are here? It's because my knee is doing that. Okay, so what I'm going to do, when you want to pull this out of the machine, you want to make sure that your presser foot is up as high as it will go. You either need to do it with your leg or you got to do it with your hand back in the back to raise the presser foot, because you've got to release the tension from the thread. Otherwise you're going to just bend the crud out of your needle. And then when you pull it out, always get a hold of the threads and pull the threads out from here rather than just pulling them out with your hand like this. Have your hand over the threads and pull them out that way. Because remember, you're on paper. Even though it's a paper and a layer of cardstock, you could still rip that right through. You could still rip it off the edge because you're perforating this. Okay? So, I have a generic Singer machine. Well, all machines do this. Yep. You may have to make adjustments for your specific machine and have a specific foot for your machine. But yeah, all machines will do it. We'll do free motion stitching in one way or another. Some machines you have to cover the feed dogs with a plate, and most machines today you just use a button or a lever to lower them. Okay, so I'm going to do some veining. Alrighty, so we have Bob's Your Uncle. We got veins in the leaf. So again, I'm going to pull this out, but I'm going to get my hand. I know you can't see that. I'm going to put my fingers over the thread. This is making it look awkward, but I want you to see what I'm doing. And the presser foot is raised all the way up, and then I'm going to pull. That way, I am supporting where I've stitched, so I'm not I don't have the tendency to rip through the paper, because this is a lot of thread to put into paper and cardstock. Okay, it perforates. Alrighty, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a little bit of And I don't stitch these intensely like I do with a piece of fabric artwork, because it's paper. You don't want to do that. Otherwise, if you perforate it too much, it'll just fall apart. Fabric, you can just stitch the crud out of it. All right, so I'm going to stitch around the words here. All right, I'm just going to hop over that. On fabric, you can stitch right on the edge. On paper, not so much. So I just lift the presser foot and hop over it. So if you have any questions, be sure you put them in capital letters, because that way I can see it a little bit better. Alright, and we're done with as much stitching as I'm going to put on this one. So I have the same color of thread, top and bottom. See, you can see the perforations right there. You can see the light through it. That's why you got to be a little careful. Alright, so we've got the stitching on there. Now, of course, you could use a different color thread. I just happen to like this almost black color. Are you guys still here? You guys still here, or did you take did I put you to sleep, or are you just so excited you can't stand it? I think you guys, I may have put you all to sleep. All right, let's go to the Muppet one. Goodness, Sandy, are you all right? That was a big noise from a sleeping dog. All right, taking a little tea break here, then we'll do a dog. Okay. Sandy likes to get right behind my chair. Yeah, that's always exciting. Then you have to really watch. I have to watch I don't roll over her. Okay, so I'm going to come up here. I've not stitched this one out before, so I'm just going to kind of see what looks. When you start this, be sure you hold on to your threads. If you don't hold on to your threads, your machine, regardless of how much money you paid for it, will try to eat them. And it doesn't take but a few stitches. Oh, and on this one, over here where I hopped over that bit right there, I will just clip that thread away. I forgot to tell you that. So I just, any place I hop over, then I go back and clip the thread. Okay, so here we go. Let's see, what do I want to do here? Oh, I want to do, okay, we'll just go. And sometimes, if you get too scribbly, which I am here, for some reason I'm not able to stitch on the line, and then you just have to, what is it Shannon says? Do it once, it's an effect. Do it a whole bunch of times. No, do it once, it's a mistake. Do it a whole bunch of times, it's an effect. So sometimes you have to do an effect, you know what I mean? And I do find that when I'm stitching on paper and cardstock like this, I have to kind of hold it down a little bit better with my hands so it doesn't flag up and down. So. I can't even tell you how much more challenging this is to try to do this and talk at the same time, but it is. Anyway. Okay, so we got that much. All right, and once you perforate the paper with the needle, you cannot take the stitch out. You can take the stitch out, but you're going to leave a hole, so you just have to work with the mistakes. You just have to work with the mistakes. All right, let's come back and I want to detail this a little bit more in the collar. So I'm going to catch the eyelets. Okay, then I want to come up here and catch her eye. And then I'm going to come up here and I'm going to get the other ear. Okay, and what it says on this one is the best things in life are not things. This dog, Muppet, was a cast-off. She had been from Second Chance, which is an animal rescue that we have gotten. Both Sandy and Muppet came from Second Chance. She had been returned twice before she was 8 months old. Now, all this business on the back, all these threads on the back, I just leave. Let me see if I can catch it. There's threads back here on the back. I just leave those. Yeah, don't put my fingers, don't sew my fingers. No, that's true. So, Muppet came to live with us, and she was a big challenge. And this, by the way, down here says proof. So it says, the best things in life are not things, and down here it says proof. Okay. So I'm going to stitch around this to emphasize this a little bit. Oops, and when that happens, when your machine does what mine just did, that means that I did not hold on to the threads, and so I have to come down here and undo myself because I wound up my thread around the hook. See this? See that? Can you see the thread? No, you can't really see it, but the thread is wound around the hook. When that happens, don't panic. Just simply take it apart, take the thread out of the hook, because it will not stitch that way. No matter how much you want it to, it is not going to stitch that way. So unwind yourself, straighten yourself up, put yourself back together, and then remember to hold the threads when you start stitching. Because if you get stuck in half a cycle of a stitch, that is exactly what happens, and that's what I did. So, straighten yourself up. Now, let's see if Barb can remember to hold the threads. I'm in a bit of a precarious position down here because I'm so close to the edge. So, hold on to the threads. Okay, once you get going, you're fine. Okay, good to go. She was turned in twice because she was just a total pain in the you-know-what. She was a total pain. Yes, she was. She is a dog. I don't know if you can tell by looking at her. You probably can't tell. But this indicative coloration here is indicative of a blue heeler. She has blue heeler. She has border collie. She is made up of all these highly da-dink, da-dink, da-dink kinds of dogs, if you understand what I'm talking about. Very energetic. Very energetic. And she needed an incredible amount of exercise. We even bought a treadmill to walk this dog on. Pain in the patootie. Yes. Hey, Claire. This is a dog that has to have a job. She does have to have a job. And her job when we walk is she carries a backpack. Yeah, she carries a backpack. And we walked, and when I first got her, we walked and walked and walked and walked. We probably walked, I calculated at one time, I walked 3 to 5 miles with her every day. I usually walked her twice a day, and I did that for well over a year. And when it was too nasty out to take her for a walk, we used the treadmill. Yeah. Okay, so I'm ready to do the blue dog. So are you guys still with me on the process? Still together, are we? All right, let's see what we're going to do here. I'm making it up as I go along. All right, well, we're going to come over here. Start here. I hope you can kind of see. I am, my left hand, I'm trying to keep it where you can see, but I got to have my hand up here where I can manage everything. Okay, here we go. So I'm going around the outline part first. When you learn to free motion stitch, it is like patting your head and rubbing your stomach. I admit it. You really have to, you have to practice. It's like any other artistic skill. You learn it and you practice. Alright, I'm going to hop over down here. I'm going to hop over and go down here. Okay, so while I'm here, I'm going to do these flower things. I don't even know what these were, but we're going to do them. Okay, I'm going to come over and pick up another one of them. These are really getting close to the edge. Well, I trimmed the long pieces afterwards. I'll trim the long pieces that are on the top, but on the back I'll leave them. Yeah. I'm assuming you're talking about the threads. But the ones on the back I'm not going to cut because they're going to be covered up. Okay, so we got those. Again, raise the presser foot as far as it'll go. and support the thread as you pull it out, so you don't rip it right off the, whoops, sorry, my computer decided to have a little nap there for a second. So this one's been stitched, this section, but not this section. Hopefully you can see that. Sarah's only had 1 cup of coffee, so her brain is still booting. Gotcha. Got ya. I understand. So like, for example, there's a thread where I hopped over right here. So I'm just going to trim that out so I don't catch that down in the stitching. So I just trimmed that thread. But I'm going to leave it on the back because it doesn't matter. Alright, let's stitch the rest of these. Okay, I'm not being real careful about these down in this corner because they're going to get stitched over anyway when I add the backing piece. Okay, so let's get rid of these threads. So here's what we have so far. I'm not sure how much you can see. You might be able to see it better from the back. If I can catch the light. There, you can see it a little bit better from the back. Okay, and so I'm going to stitch around the blue dog itself again. So I've done around the orange part of it. I'm going to do the blue dog part. When you stitch on paper and cardstock and stuff like that, you will generate quite a bit of lint in your machine, so you do want to clean your machine relatively frequently when you're doing this kind of stuff. And when you do that, do not use canned air, especially if you are on a computerized machine. Only use, when you clean your machine, I only use Q-tips or a vacuum cleaner. All right. But you do not want to do this when there is wet glue under this. You want to make sure that you let that glue stick thoroughly, completely, and totally get dry. I hate hanging threads. It's like having stuff hang off the edge of the page. I don't like that either. Oops, and my thread broke. Good thing we were at the end of that, because the thread decided to break. You have to be kind to things when you're doing this, because you're asking it to do things that it does not want to do. Machines don't necessarily want to stitch on paper. They don't necessarily want to stitch on cardstock. And sometimes they just take a minute They take a minute and they say, and that's all I'm going to do for a minute because I want to breathe. I need a break. So give it a break. Rethread. And go again. And why do threads break? Well, it could be that the needle has a burr in it. The needle could be getting dull. It could be all kinds of things. Okay. All right, so there is what we have so far, and I think we're going to emphasize his this blue dog's muzzle. And we'll see if we do anything else. Don't know yet. We'll see. All right, what else do we want to do? Maybe I try to put enough stitching on it that to me it's interesting, but not so much that it perforates the paper. Drop kicking is not the answer, that's true. No matter how much you want to, don't drop kick your machine. Don't do it. I tell you, don't do it. All right, so we're going to clip the threads where I hopped over a few things. And here is our little blue dog stitched here and there. Okay? Okay. Let's go and we'll do the owl and then we'll finish them up. Finish up the cards. Alrighty, let's see, what shall we do? Let's start with the face on the owl. I did one of these one time. It's been a while and I can't remember exactly what I did. so I'll just make it up as I go. The smaller they get, the smaller the more intricate it is, the more I have to really look at it to see what it is that I want to do. Sometimes I don't know. Sometimes I just go, well, let's try this. Okay, so I'm going to just pull this out and get rid of the thread so far. You also need little tiny scissors so you can get up there and really clip those threads. Okay, so we've just got the face of the owl and the eyes. Okay, so now I'm going to come up here to the wing. Question, are you always this patient or is this for our benefit? Patient is what? What do you mean by patient? I guess you're going to have to ask the other people in the audience. Yeah, Ashley says, and when you're rethreading, don't forget to follow step 4 and 3 and 2 and 1 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8. Right, Ashley? Right? Okay, let's see. Where's the next feather go? Oh, I haven't drop kicked the machine. Oh, yeah. Here's the thing. I paid a lot of money for this machine a long time ago. And boy, I want it to last because I don't want to buy another one right now. And the other thing is, most of the time I can problem solve what the issue is, and so if I know what the problem is, then I'm good to go. It's when I don't know what the issue is that I get frustrated. However, I live with a service technician, so that helps. But even if I didn't pay a lot of money for a machine, I would still be really careful with it because I really like sewing machines. I have a collection. I'll tell you, it's a sickness, people. It's a sickness. My husband came home one day and he said, "Look what I got out of the dumpster." Now, what was he doing in the dumpster? I'm not quite sure. But somebody had rather gently, fortunately, thrown away a beautiful machine. It's old. Okay, so there is the owl's feathers. And he brought it home. He said, "I don't know if it'll work, but it's absolutely adorable. Adorable machine. Old, heavy, beautiful machine." And he worked on it for about 15-20 minutes. And it sews beautifully. Absolutely adorable machine. And guess what color it is? Turquoise. Yeah. It's really cute. Sweet little machine. Somebody threw it away because they didn't know how to make it work. Didn't know that they could take it to somebody and get it fixed, you know. Okay, that wing is done. That's good. Alright, we're just going to hop over here, pick this up. The other thing, if you have a knee lift on your machine which operates the presser foot, be sure that you don't rest your knee against it. That's another thing people tend to do. Let's see if I can give you a shot of this. Okay, see this lever right here? This is what I was talking about that operates the presser foot. It's really easy if you have one of these to get your knee against that, and just, you know, because you're kind of tense, and so it's easy to get your knee against that. See the presser foot going up and down? If you get, if you rest your knee on there even a little bit, you release the tension, because this is what without getting detailed, you have to have the full engagement of the presser foot to get the tension on the thread properly. If you do that even a little bit, it will release the thread tension and it will start making big loops on the back of whatever you're doing. So if you have one of those, you got to make sure that you don't rest your leg against it. Bye, Sarah. Great to see you. Okay, so we're over here for the other wing. I'm not going to do the detail on this wing that I did on this one, because this one is in front, so it would be more detailed. Alrighty, let's see. Alright, I think that's about all we're going to do on this guy for the detail stitching stuff. You'd love to see, sorry, I was just catching up with the chat. You'd love to see that machine? Well, if you'll give me a minute, when I get done with this stuff, if somebody remind me, because I may forget that. And I also may forget the sponsors, so life can get really, really complicated at the end of these shows because my brain gets tired. Okay, we're going to put this aside for a minute. The machine will come back in a few minutes, but we got to get the next step done. All right, so I'm going to put the machine down. And now, I do not store my machine on the floor, just so you know. It's only on the floor because I have to be able to get to it. It lives by itself in the other room. Okay. So here are our pieces that I've stitched. So there's the owl. And I have one of the owls someplace else that's not stitched, but I don't know where it is for sure. Here's the blue dog. Here is the Muppet dog, and there is the pear. Okay, let's look at it this way so you can see them all together. Okay, now they're kind of cupped. You see, they're kind of cupped like that. And so we're going to do the next thing, which is put the back on them, because you got to have something to hide all that thread. The thread mess on the back, which I don't know whether you can catch that in the light, but anyway, we got to hide that. So back to our, hey Debbie, thanks. So what we're going to do now is go back to our trusty glue stick, and then I have 4x6 backing cardstocks. And this is, sometimes I do them in different colors. This just is what I have left. Don't know whether I can find the stamp set. Give me a second. I may be able to find the stamp set and show it to you. That I didn't think to get the link for. I don't know if it's even still available, truthfully. Yeah, I don't know where the stamp set is, so I will put it in the description below the video when I find it. It's here somewhere. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the glue stick and I'm going to keep it away from the edges. Okay? And I'm slathering a lot on here, but it is only in the middle. Hopefully you can see. It is not close to the edges. And then I'm going to take one of these. Do you have any streams of you making any of these? Of the actual canvases? No. I did that before I was streaming, if that's what you're asking, Jerry. Muppet just came upstairs. So if you hear a bunch of jingling of tags, that's because she made her entrance into the studio. Okay, and I try to get these on here as straight as I can, and the glue stick kind of gives you a little bit of wiggle room. Okay, once I get them on there, then I go back to my scraper. Oh, thanks. Leave the thread mess. No. That's like leaving all that junk hanging off the edge of my pages. I can't do it, Debbie. I can't do it. Okay. All right. So, now, obviously, the edges are going to curl away. See, the edges are not going to be secured down because there's no glue there. So, we will fix that in a minute. So, decide what you want on the back. We'll put this one on the back. But this is just, I think this was Stays On ink I used. But do keep this away from the edges because I don't want to stitch in that glue. And I'm going to stitch this again, but I do not want to catch the glue, the wet glue, with my machine. But the receiver would love to see the work on the back side. Hint, hint. Debbie, you might have to take that up with Inkwell. You might have to take that up with Inkwell. And I'm using a lot of pressure so that I can make good contact between these surfaces. Now I know when Packer Dye does her, uses, oh, and the other thing you want to do is make sure that the postcard, is at the top. Yeah. You want to know why that's important? I know when Packer Dye does her collage work and she uses glue sticks, she puts glue on both surfaces. And if that was the only thing that I was depending on holding these together, I would do that. Your birthday's next month. I better get some of these in the mail, huh? All right. The challenge to this is the minute you put the damp glue stick on the back, it starts curling even more. So when you're trying to get it on straight, or more or less straight, you kind of have to pummel it into submission. Okay. And then you try not to get gunk on the surface of the card, but if you do, you do. All right, and here's our owl. And maybe on the owl, neither one of these go very well, so we'll just pick one. Should be a different color, but it is what it is, people. It is what it is. You will blow through a lot of glue stick if you get into doing this because, got that a little close to the edge, because the thread really catches the glue stick and gets a lot of it. And don't get it so close to the edge. Yeah, the owl was one of my favorite little canvases, actually. Reminded me a lot of the Harry Potter owls. But when the thread, you know, when you're rubbing that glue stick across the thread, it really pulls a lot of glue stick. Okay. Now, I look at them, after I get that done, I look at them to see if the edges are more or less even, and this one is not. This one is smaller, so I'm going to just take a second and trim off the excess backing cardstock. It's okay if there's a sliver of that color, but you don't want, you know, 1/16 of an inch or something showing, because that doesn't look so good. Okay, so they're all glued up and they're curling like mad, and that's just the how of it. I did, Jerry. I did. I watched the movie Julie and Julia one New Year's Eve, and got the thought worm in my head that said, you should do that and make a canvas, you know, jumping off point. You should make a canvas every day. That's how that started. Yeah. It was a little bit crazy. A little bit crazy. Okay, back to the machine. And now I'm going to use decorative threads. So let's see. Pull the machine here where you can see it. So I did them. I did them for 180 days. So I didn't make it a whole year, but I made it half a year. Debbie, you're going to have to take that up with you-know-who. You just will. Okay, so I'm going to rethread my machine, if I can get it. The thread wanted to tangle around the needle. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my very favorite thread in the whole world. The reason, I didn't tell you this, but the reason I use the Sulky thread, it's a cotton thread. It's 30 weight, which is heavier than... it's a heavier thread. It's not super heavy, but it's heavier. And I like it because it gives some dimension to the stitching. So that's why I use that. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use, this is King Tut, Superior King Tut thread. And I love King Tut thread. Anybody that's been hanging around me any time at all knows how much I love King Tut thread. They're variegated and they're absolutely stunning, stunning threads. The canvases are they're actually like art journal pages on canvas boards is what they really amount to. Sometimes they're collage, sometimes they're painted. Sometimes there were alcohol inks. It was just whatever my fancy, whatever struck my fancy on that day. Does that tell you anything? It's like whatever thought crossed my mind, or I'd see somebody do something and I'd think, oh, I want to try that. I want to play with that idea. So I'd explore that for 3 or 4 canvases. Okay, thread, cooperate with me. Okay. Okay, so I've rethreaded my machine. I put the same color thread in the top and the bottom. I've raised the feed dogs. My notes for my zigzag stitch. I'm doing a zigzag stitch. I'm doing, the tension is normal. Stitch width of 3.5, stitch length of 1.5, and I have King Tut thread on the top and the bottom. Why do I have the image of Steve Martin as King Tut? I don't know. Because you're sick, Debbie, because you're sick. Because you're just sick, that's all, you're twisted. Kidding. Okay. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to zigzag stitch, and that's what's going to hold the edges together. And I'm going to stitch on, so the zig is on the card and the zag is off the card. So now the feed dogs are moving this because I raised the feed dogs up, so they are now moving the card, not me. Like I moved the card myself when I did all the detail stuff. And although it's going to stitch over the bottom of the pear here, I don't pay any attention to that. I just keep on going. Sometimes I'm a little careful at the corners because if anything's going to give you any trouble, it's going to be on the corners because machines, I don't know why, but they don't like to stitch on air, you know. They get real picky about stitching on air. So give it a break and don't, you know, be careful with it. Be nice to it. And this Bernina will stitch on air better than any other machine I'm aware of. But even it rebels at stitching on air. Sometimes. And at the corners, I am intending to cross the stitches. So I'm not mitering corners, I'm stitching right over them. Okay, now when I get back to where I started, what I'm going to try to do, and sometimes it works perfectly and sometimes you have to fudge it just a little bit, I want to go re-stitch in the holes that I made to begin with. So I'm going to slow down and I'm going to see if I can hit the holes. And stitch over some of my stitches. And what that does is it doesn't re-perforate the paper. Okay? I hope that makes sense. It doesn't perforate additional stitches, additional holes. Show you in the back. Right in here is where I stitched over it the second time, so the thread's a bit heavier. You can see it right here, I think. But that keeps keeps more of the paper card business intact. Then I use a tiny bit of tacky glue. And I just pat it over those threads. So it's not a whole lot of glue. And then I let that just sit and dry. And that way those threads don't try to come out at all, because they can't. Okay, so there's that one. Okay. You like? I like. Okay, we'll put it over there to dry. All right, let's see if green will work with any of the rest of these. Yeah, not so much. What color can I use? Maybe we can get away with green. We need blue for that one. Yeah, not really. Okay, let's change thread colors. You need to get rid of your Smurf machine. Okay, let's do the Muppet one. I didn't bring all my colors of thread out here. I just brought some of them. So we're going to work with the colors of thread that I have. Because I'm not going in where the sponsors are, people. You can't make me go in where the sponsors are. You can't. No matter how nice you are to me. No matter how much you beg, I'm not going in where the sponsors are. They are in the window in the sun, and they're quiet. And all of you, or any of you who have ever lived with the Siamese, know that you will do about anything to keep them quiet. Right? Okay, so I have another color of King Tut. I have it for the bottom, for the bobbin, as it is correctly called. Not the bottom, but the bobbin. And the top. So same color in both. Alright, I'm going to do exactly the same thing. So we're going to stitch this Muppet dog. So I combine paper and fabric a lot. I do some of the classes on the website are, I've done quite a few classes on the website with fabric. And you can also see on YouTube, you can see the fabric paper. There's a couple of fabric paper classes that we put on YouTube. So you can see how I combine paper and fabric. I really like to combine the two. And sewing. I'm feeling very accomplished today because I've almost got 4 cards done for you guys. Yeah, how about that? Not bad. Not bad, peoples. All right, so 2 down, 2 to go. Debbie making trouble. Is Debbie going to get you guys in trouble? Do we have to get the Bam Hammer out? I mean, really. Kia, that's funny. They don't have to be Siamese to want them to keep it quiet. Okay, a little bit of tacky glue. Before I go to the next one, I'm going to have to take a quick second and put the dogs outside. Okay, so a little glue, set it to the side, let it dry. All right. So we're going to do the same color of thread on this one, so hang on just a second, I'll be right back. Outside. Sit. No. Hey. All right. All right. My studio is on the level with the backyard, so for them to go out, they have to come up here, and that's good. Okay. Bird was smarter than you are. That's funny. Okay, let's start down here with this one. And again, I'm not, even though this has got a lot of stitching on it up here, I'm going to stitch right over it. Yes, I am. So use your art journal pages. If you're an art journaler, use them and think about different ways that you can repurpose them, because you've done all this great stuff. Now, if they're very personal, obviously you don't want to do that, but you've done the work, and I know that everybody ends up with at least some pages that they really love. So why not repurpose and recycle and upcycle and whatever other kind of word you want to use your own artwork. Yeah, I would not do this amount of work on ATCs because you would perforate the paper so much. So I would only do this on something that was a little bigger. All right, done. The variegation in the King Tut thread is just so beautiful. Victor, you got the icons going on there. I'm not sure I can interpret them, but you must be leaving. Bye, Victor. Thanks for coming and hanging out with us today. It's always good to see you in the chat. Okay, so I got a little glue on there. Set it aside. Wipe off your finger. Nice to see you, Victor. And we're going to rethread one more time because I don't think pink will work with our blue dog, for goodness sakes. The blue dog needs blue thread. So have you guys enjoyed this today? What other kinds of things would you like to see me do on the live stream? Do you have suggestions? If you do, I'm open to them. Might not mean that I'm going to do them all, but uh-oh, where's the bobbin for that one? By the way, if you don't have one of these for your bobbins, do you see how the bobbins don't fall out? It's called a bobbin saver. You want to have those. I have them for each machine. It's a very good idea. Then you don't get, because bobbins today are very specific to their machine. So you really want to keep your bobbins separate and keep them from falling all out over the place. Oh, good, Rain. Okay, so we got one more to do. We're done after this one. And sometimes when I'm stitching them, I see I should have trimmed a little bit more. I just don't, you know, you just can't stress over that. You just can't stress about it. Life is too short to stress about stuff like that. All right, we are done stitching. I amaze you. Is there anything I can't do? There are a lot of things I can't do. A lot of things. Show you how to use your serger. I'll tell you the thing about sergers is that they are very individual. They really are. The process that they work on is the same, but the threading path and all that is very individual. So I could show you how to thread my machine. That doesn't mean it's going to work for yours. It's not like a sewing machine. They're just not the same animal. I mean, I am very opinionated. Whoops. Sorry, my computer decided to have a little nap again. I have very strong opinions about which serger I would buy and which serger I would not buy. And, you know, I've never been one to be short on opinions, people. I'll tell you that. I'll tell you that. Okay. Let's go back here for a second, and so I can put the machine away. And we'll take a look at our cards that we've done today. Elmer's a pretty good serger. The best, if you guys want to know what the best serger is, if you're in the market for one, you want to get a baby lock. You definitely want a baby lock. Baby lock has got the market on threading, and that is what it's all about when it comes to sergers. If you feel like you can throw a sewing machine across the floor, yeah, when it comes to threading a serger, that's a whole other experience of throwing things across the floor, believe me. Okay, so here are the 4 cards that we did today. Get them up here where you can see them. But you see how much flatter they are after the stitching onto the backing. So you've got to give them enough thickness, you know, that they'll lie down and be flat. So, okay, so there's the front side. So here's the blue dog. I put blue thread, a blue, green, purple thread around the edge. There's the back side. The pear, which is edged in green. Yes, secure it with nails. That's right. Secure it with nails. There is the owl with red. It's a red, pink, hot pink fuchsia color thread. And there is the Muppet. And again, she has the same thread as this one around her. So there they are. Okay, so they're done. I'm not going to stack them up yet because there might still be some of the glue bits where it's glued over the threads. That might be a little damp yet. So, okay, let me go get, let's see if I can get that machine. I'll leave these here so you can see them. Let me see if I can get that machine to show you. Okay, let me just tell you, this puppy has got some weight to it. So I'm going to put these over out of the way. Yeah, YouTube doesn't clap. That's true. It has a whole other bunch of icons, and you can rewind in real time to be able to see what the streamer is doing. But I don't think they clap. All right, so here it is. This came from the dumpster. It's a wizard. Whoops. 2. See if I can bring this up enough that you can, I don't know. Trying to get the camera situated so you can see it. But you're going to have to look at my monitor. Okay. So there it is in all of its glory. Yeah. Isn't that cool? Look at this. It has needle positions. It has fancy stitches on it. It'll even let you drop the feed dogs, but it's a wizard machine. Here it is up here. And it's turquoise, people. I know. Is that the coolest thing ever? So I'm going to actually do a class on the website where I'm going to make something with this trash machine. Don't know what yet, but I'm going to see about how many things I can do with this machine, which I think will be a lot of fun to do. But isn't it pretty? Isn't it pretty? Came from a dumpster. Yeah. What year is it? We looked it up and I forgot. I forgot what year it was made. We got it down to within 2 or 3 years. You know, a span of a couple of years. But I mean, the case is with it. It's turquoise. You know, and it is really a super heavy machine. Let me tell you, it must have been a Cadillac. It must have been a Cadillac of a machine in its day. I think it probably is from the 60s. 50s or 60s, I think. Okay, so Jerry, you have one that looks like that? Cool. Yeah, I think it's probably the 50s or 60s. 60s is when the turquoise was so popular, I believe. All right, so we have some cards done. So we have these. I had these done from before. So I had these done from before. Hello, Chance. And then I got these done today. See what I mean about the pretty voice? So I got these done today. And what's interesting about these, like this one with Muppet, I don't know if you're going to be able to see this. I don't know that you can, but the stitching from the front side is showing through the back. So you still get to see the thread, Debbie. You still get to see the thread. Just the imprint of it. Yeah, what? You coming up? Is it time for you to come up and see the world? Okay, you know all about it, don't you? I don't know how they know it's Friday. I don't know how they know it's time to get on the table. I don't have a clue, people. I don't have a clue. Yeah. All right, let's get you. Lay down so they can see you, okay? Lay down. Yeah. So, Chanceroo. There's the Chanceroo. Charlie, are you coming? He has been camera shy the last couple of weeks for some reason. I should exhibit my art collections. That's very sweet of you, Gabrielle. That's very sweet of you. Yeah, this is a sponsor. This is Mr. Chance. Oh, he's very close to the camera. He is rubbing his face on the camera. Are you coming up? Oh, he got a bite to eat. Charlie had to get a bite to eat. Are you coming up here? You are? You're coming up today? Oh, he's still licking his chops. All right, come on. Oh, there you go. There you go. There you go. All right, and this is Charlie, in case there happens to be somebody new here that doesn't know. This is Charlie, who's now giving Chance a bath. And this is Chance. Chance is a blue point Siamese. Charlie is a chocolate point Siamese. And they came to live here almost 4 years ago. It'll be 4 years ago in May. They came from their original owner. And she couldn't keep them any longer. And so they came to live here. So that's the story of that. Yeah. That's the story of that, isn't it, boys? Yep. All right. So a shot with monitors and everything. So you get to see them here. You get to see them back in the monitors. But with that, we are going to sign off for today. I hope you guys have a super fantastic weekend. And thanks for joining me. It's always fun to have you here on Fridays. It's a great day. Hope you liked having a little drama free, because you know what? There's enough drama out there. We don't need to bring it in here. So I say 2 thumbs up for a drama-free Friday yet again, and it's been fun. Thanks for joining me. It's great to see you. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend, and I will be back here next week, same time, same place. Watch, if you're on Twitter, please follow me at Barb Owen Designs, and you'll see the tweets. We have scheduled tweets so that they will remind you an hour before and 15 minutes before, and then there should be another one that tells you when we go live. So unless something runs afoul, you should be able to know when I'm on, if you follow me on Twitter. All right, I will see you guys next week. So have a great one, everybody, and thanks again for being here. Remember to get creative. I can't even say it. Remember to get creative today, because, you know, it's easy, right? See ya. Bye, guys.